The police are under fire again related to the military. We just covered that a couple, stories last week with the police pulling over Lieutenant Nazario. And now we've got this. Video shows unarmed Marine veteran tased by police in his daughter's hospital room. So let's play this video and let's watch it, and we'll kind of check out what's going on in the actual video, and then we'll talk about some more facts of the case as we get to it. So it says, if you're listening on the podcast, it says here, on April 17, 2019, Carl Anderson's 19-month-old daughter was airlifted to Memorial Hospital for emergency treatment after she ran into the path of the family car as his fiancée drove away from their home. At Memorial Hospital, Mr. Anderson, an honorably discharged Marine and Afghanistan combat veteran, was inexplicably confronted by Teller County and Colorado Springs law enforcement officers who claimed to suspect there was evidence of a crime on Mr. Anderson's fiancée's phone. In fact, neither Mr. Anderson nor his fiancée had committed any crime, and no charges were ever filed against anyone in relation to the injury to his child. Law enforcement determined that Mr. Anderson's daughter had simply been the victim of a terrible accident. Fortunately, she would ultimately make a full recovery, so that's good. As Mr. Anderson stood by his daughter's crib, unsure of whether his child would live or die, he had his fiancée's cell phone in his pocket. His fiancée lay in the hospital bed with her injured daughter. Now we're just waiting for the screen to change. As the following body-worn camera footage reveals, police officers entered the hospital room, attempted to unlawfully seize the telephone from Mr. Anderson, and assaulted and tased Mr. Anderson in front of his family. The officers had no warrant and no legal justification to seize the phone, and they ignored the protests of Mr. Anderson and his father to that effect. The officers even charged Mr. Anderson with a crime in order to justify their own violent use of force against him. The charge was later dismissed. By the way, this article is from Task and Purpose. That's where we're getting to the actual video here in a minute.
Hey, you do not grab anything from my pockets. Gentlemen.
Wow, so the police walk into the hospital room and they walk up to this guy and they just grab him. Now, according to the victim here, the victim of the police here, is that they were just in there and police just showed up. Like, they don't know who called the police. I have some guesses, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the police just walk in and they immediately try to just grab this guy's pocket.
Gentlemen, hold on. Gentlemen, hold on.
Let's take this out in the hallway away from everybody else.
Jason, this is getting out of hand.
Real simple.
I'd appreciate it.
Real simple. I'm not leaving my daughter's side.
Okay. Then just give us the phone and we'll be done.
No, you're not getting the phone.
we are.
You don't have a right to take the phone.
We do as part of the
No,
investigation.
you don't.
So
You're going to tase me because I'm not going to give you my wife's cell phone?
So it looks like probably what's happening here is maybe one of the police officers grabbed their non-lethal, their taser, and he sees it and he goes, so what are you going to tase me? And they're saying, you're going to give us the phone? Excuse me. They're saying, you're going to give us the phone. And he's saying, I don't have to give you my phone, which I don't actually know. I mean, this seems like they would have to have a warrant, right, to collect evidence on this. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not in law enforcement. I don't know if can the cops just come and grab somebody's property like that? Isn't that like a Fourth Amendment violation? Unless they have probable cause or something? Can they search a phone? Can police search a phone without a warrant? Didn't that just recently go through litigation? If police can go through the contents of a electronic device without a warrant? Wasn't that recently a thing?
Well,
so that's why I want to take it out in the hallway.
She's in.
So it says here, for about 1 minute, Mr. Anderson continued to calmly explain to officers that they had no right to take his fiance's cell phone and that he would not provide it without legal justification. Frustrated, the officers attempted to unlawfully arrest Mr. Anderson, slamming him to the ground and tasing him repeatedly.
That's what doesn't make any sense to me.
Excuse me? So I'm going to go behind you because I don't want anybody behind you getting hurt. Okay? Nobody behind you.
Oh, hold on, it's gentlemen.
Oh, really?
Gentlemen.
Give me the cell phone.
Get out of the room.
This is crazy.
Get out of the room.
Man.
Get out of the room.
Are you serious? Motherfucker!
Go down! Go down! Go down!
Hey!
Go down!
Motherfucker! Motherfucker! Doing this down the ground. This is not right.
Are you fucking serious?
This is not
Put your
right.
hands behind your back.
Motherfucker!
I'm gonna sue your ass. I want your badge numbers now.
Motherfucker!
Hey!
That is enough!
Gentlemen,
Get
I'm
back.
trying my
Back
best.
away, and you're not trying your best.
Yes, I
You are
am.
not cooperating.
the other one.
I am
You are
cooperating.
not cooperating.
I absolutely.
So they just, if you're listening on the podcast, what we just saw here on the video was a police officer goes up behind him. You can see that they're obviously about to take him down. He's got the taser out to the guy's back. The flashlight's on the taser, which means it's off safe. As soon as you take a taser off safe, usually the flashlight and the laser target, like the laser, the red dot comes on, and you can then fire it. And so they grab him, they tase him. It looks like they probably tase him 2 or 3 times. One shot of the taser lasts for 5 seconds. So if you hear it, it goes zzz, 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 like that for 5 seconds, and then it goes off, and you can tase somebody again. And the battery on a taser can handle a bunch of tases on one charge.
No, you are not.
CJ, relax your hands.
They are relaxed.
No,
You
they're
guys
not.
are out of control. Out of control.
Doesn't look hot for you, buddy.
Another officer's body-worn camera captured a second angle of the brutal, unlawful use of force against Mr. Anderson. The same officer menaced Mr. Anderson's father, who protested the brutalization of his son. So that looks like the other gentleman in the video on the phone is his dad.
Excuse me? So I'm going to go behind you because I don't want anybody behind you getting
And you can see here in the video, if I rewind it really quick, the mother of the daughter who was the driver of the car. So the mother is the one who's driving the car that hit the daughter, is leaning over the bed in the hospital. So his injured daughter is right there behind him in the bed. And the mother, who is the suspected perpetrator, is, you know, sitting right there. And this whole thing is insane.
behind you because I don't want anybody behind you getting hurt. Okay?
Nobody
Come
behind
behind
me.
me
Hold
getting-
on, it's
I will
gentlemen.
tase you
Gentlemen.
right now.
Gentlemen.
Get
Gentlemen.
out of the
This
room.
is crazy.
Get out of the room.
Man.
Get out of the
Are you
room.
serious? Motherfucker. Get down. Motherfucker.
So when you get tased, it sucks pretty bad. And for a lot of people, it's a phobia too of getting electrocuted. And what happens is there's these 2 barbs. They look like, what do they look like? Like a little mushroom, like sharp tip mushrooms or arrows. They look like arrows. And they go in to your skin about 1/4 of an inch or so. They'll go through your clothes and go into your skin. And then there's these 2, like the wires are like these spring like coiled, like conductive wires that the signal goes through. And then you just sit there and you get, you take the tase, you ride the lightning, as they say. And then another crappy part about getting tased is they have to take those barbs out of your body afterwards, which is never pleasant.
Hey!
Back up.
Down.
Back up.
Mother,
You're
come
gonna
on,
get tased.
right.
You're gonna get tased.
What you're doing is
Get on the
right.
ground.
This is not.
Oh, damn. Now he's threatening to tase the dad, which is weird because so you see here, they got the red dot pointed at the dad now, but this guy's already fired the taser and he's got the leads connected, so you can't fire it twice. You have to take off the cartridge, put on a new cartridge, and fire it again. So he's now pointing the taser at the dad, which is like just weird.
Right.
Yeah?
This is not
Put your
right.
hands behind your back.
So then he fires. So that's the second. We just heard the second use of the taser.
I'm going to sue your ass. I want all your badge numbers now. Motherfucker. Hey, that is enough. Gentlemen,
Get
I'm
back.
trying my best.
Back away. And you're not trying your best.
Yes, I
You are
am.
not cooperating.
I am cooperating.
You are not cooperating.
I absolutely
No,
am.
you are not.
They are relaxed. You guys are out of control.
Doesn't look,
Out of control.
Doesn't look hot for you, buddy.
I don't know who said that doesn't look hot for you. I don't know what that was, who they were talking to. Despite their disgraceful, violent, unconstitutional conduct, the involved officers have never been prosecuted, fired, or disciplined by the Colorado Springs Police Department or the Teller County Sheriff's Office for their assault on Mr. Anderson. All right, so that's the video there. Now, I'll just say, I'll start right off with they dropped all the charges against them, and nobody ever got charged, and they ended up saying that there was no reason to believe that there was anything suspicious going on with anybody or the accident or anything like that. Here's my guess. Here's my total guess, right? This family shows up to the hospital with an injured kid. They go to the ER. One of the questions that they would always ask, I think it's by law. Like if I go to the hospital, right, and I go into the ER, they'll ask me, do you feel safe at home, right? It doesn't matter what you're there for. They'll say, do you feel safe at home? Because they're always investigating for like a domestic abuse or, child abuse or whatever it is, and they're hoping that once they have you kind of sequestered in the nurse's office, that if you're a victim of something that you'll tell them. My pure suspicion here is a nurse thought that the story of the girl getting hit by a car might have been sus, right? It might have been a little sus, and then called the police. That's my guess. That's what I'm going with until any more information is known. But it says here, April 17th. This is not breaking news, but the video is kind of popping out now. April 17, 2019, Anderson's daughter Charlotte was severely injured when his fiance Carissa Hitshu, who was 5 months pregnant with his son at the time, accidentally struck her with a car. Anderson said while his daughter's injuries were non-life-threatening, she suffered a crack in her skull that was serious, so she needed to be taken to an intensive care unit. So, suffered a crack in her skull. So she had serious injuries, and she's laying there in a bed while this is going on. The infant girl was being treated in an intensive care unit in Colorado Springs when a plainclothes detective from the Teller County Sheriff's Department entered her hospital room and demanded that both Anderson and Hitshu hand over their phones without explaining why. Anderson said when Anderson refused, the deputy came back with 3 uniformed officers from the Colorado Springs Police Department who were determined to get their phones through force. Now, a lot of this is, written in opinion or, what they decide on the video here. Anderson served as a machine gunner in the Marine Corps from 2009 to 2013. According to his DD-214, he left the Marine Corps as a Lance Corporal, and his last duty station was Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center 29 Palms, where he served with the 1st Battalion, 7th Marine Regiment. So, it just goes to show you, the cops will hurt anybody, man. The cops will come in there, and they'll tase anybody for any reason. They'll use force. I think it's kind of crazy. These cops were not only never prosecuted, the article says, they were never fired, they were never disciplined in any way. That's because when the police investigate the police, it always works out very well for the police. I hope the family here wasn't the should have complied type people. He should have complied. Hey, he should have just complied. The more when I say I'd like to see anybody on their worst day just comply, as if everyone can't have a bad day, as if anyone can't have a falling down day. This was his bad day. He goes in there, he gets accused of a crime he didn't do. He felt like his rights were being violated, and then the police took him down. This could happen to anybody. I don't know anything about these people, but whenever somebody goes, should have complied, I'm always like, yeah, okay, let me see you on your worst day. And you'll just comply. You'll just go along with it. Whatever's happening, you're good. Hey, support back the blue. You know what I'm saying? It's so crazy. And the situation in his daughter's hospital room began after Anderson told the detective to get a warrant before he or his fiancée would hand over their cell phones. So here's what's even crazier, is Anderson goes on to say that he doesn't hate police officers, okay? That if they had come in there and talked to him with respect or had a conversation with him, this whole thing could have gone differently. And he's not really holding a grudge. So, I think he has definitely every right to be pissed here, though. Because if I go down here to the end of the article here and find that part, it says, Anderson says, I do not hate police. I do not hate law enforcement. I have the utmost respect for local police and police across the nation. My point in what I'm doing with my lawsuit is that even though you are a police officer, you still need to be held accountable for your actions. That's fair. Totally fair. What the police in my particular story, in my case, did was wrong, and they need to be held accountable. He continued, the point I'm trying to make is that if more officers were held accountable for their actions by other police, the police who are out there, the good police who are out there, we might be having a little less strife in our nation at the moment. So it's an interesting story here. I feel bad for the family. I feel bad for the little girl who's going to have to, live with this injury and then her dad getting wounded by police, getting effed up by police. Let's see. What are you guys saying in the comments? Let's see. Let's see. Absolutely would need a warrant, less lethal than non-lethal. Yeah, less than lethal. Justin is, I think, what they call it. So I probably misspoke because those weapons could cause death in some instances or as some result. Let's see. Unless you give consent, America's a scary place. It sounded like they told him to leave the room. Why were they asking him to leave? Seems like there might have been more to the story than the text explains. There does not seem to be more to the story, because they've already dropped all the charges and declared that there was no foul play. So it does not seem like there was more to the story. The police came in there. They suspected child abuse. So they tried to get the phone. When he didn't give the phone, they took him down. That's what happened. That's what appears to have happened. And there's a lawsuit going on right now. And as the lawsuit progresses, we'll try to cover this story. I would definitely love to know what led up to all this. Audra, I think that's what led up to it. It's the fact, my guess, my suspicion is somebody called the police suspecting child abuse. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching that clip from our live show. We're live right here on YouTube, Sunday through Thursday, 1800 Pacific Standard Time. If you want, come on by, join the chat. I'd love to hear from you. If you like that video and you want to see more, consider checking out this video right here or subscribing to the channel with this button right here. I look forward to talking to you really soon. I'm out for now.